Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the Dr. Vibe Show. Also host and producer of the weekly Black Men's Roundtable on most Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time called Do You Know What Time It Is? And I'm also the host and co-producer of monthly Google Hangouts at the Good Men Project, one of the most viewed sites for men, where they get 20 million page views a month and about 3 million unique visitors a month. And as always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored, you're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. Well, two more special guests tonight, one newbie and one returning visitor. So we have them on, and they're nice and close with us tonight. They're nice and close together, so we're happy to have them both. Of course, the lady with the hair, the natural hair lady, Isis Brantley, is back with us, and she's brought a friend with us tonight. And Isis' friend is Ramadan. I hope I get his name right. I'm going to try Rhadamés Julián. I probably didn't get it right, but he'll forgive me, right?
I will. That's fine. It's Rhadamés.
Rhadamés Julián. So that's it. Rhadamés Julián and Isis Brantley. And they're down in the heat of Texas, but they're cool as cucumbers because they're both going to be appearing at a special event this Saturday, June 7th at the Shark Bar and Grill in Plano, Texas from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And it's a great event called Know Your Roots and the Natural, Knowing Your Roots or Know Your Roots, Natural Hair and the Movement. So we'd like to welcome both of you to the show. So hello and good evening. How are you?
Thank you.
Good evening.
We're good. It's hot in Texas. It's 95 degrees.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad it's 95 degrees Fahrenheit, not 95 degrees Celsius, because if it was 95 degrees Celsius, that'd be dirty. Let's just put it that way. That'd be really, really crazy. So, Rhadamés, you are the new person on the Dr. Vibe Show. We are happy and jacked that you're on. Can you share a little bit about your background?
My background. So I actually grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Texas. So I'm very familiar with this area. Let's see, I went to school here, went to high school, went to college here, and then I traveled a little bit right after college. It's the first time I went to Africa, but I've lived all over the States. I'm from the Caribbean. My parents are Dominican, and currently I live in New York City in Harlem. And I'm a filmmaker, and I'm a huge feminist, and I'm a natural hair advocate, and someone who is trying to take the natural hair movement and make it more than what it is just now. Trying to pump in a lot of the seriousness that I think that's lacking. That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
Excellent, good stuff. Isis, you've been on the show before, but can you share a little bit of the background of yourself with our audience?
Yes, I'm Isis, known as Naturally Isis. I'm the matriarch of natural hair in the state of Texas. I've changed many laws and have employed many people. I'm also an advocate of natural hair and an advocate of women and children. So basically, I'm just healing through the hair, every person one little strand at a time. So I'm here with Rhadamés, and I am just excited about the whole weekend. And I thank you, Dr. Vibe, for allowing me to appear a second time.
Well, the mic and camera is always open for both of you, so it's always appreciated and not taken for granted. Rhadamés, we had a very interesting discussion before we came on live, and you wanted to answer this question, so let me get this conversation piece out right up front. Most people would probably think natural hair movement, black woman. Last I checked, you're not a black woman. So what got you interested in the natural hair movement?
That's a really good question. Well, one of the things that I talk about publicly when people ask me this question, one of the things that I point out is my reasoning for wanting to be an anchor and a leader in this movement has nothing to do with what I've read. It has everything to do with what I've experienced in my life. Via my hair, via my travels, via my race, via the color of my skin. So in a very unique, awkward way, I've felt a lot of the injustices, and I've gone through a lot of the issues that women of color have gone through, especially in regards to their hair and their follicle. So it's a very kind of awkward place to be in, but I think I know something that a lot of people don't know. And being a man, I feel a sense of obligation to take it further, and that's where I stand. But I think there are a lot of men who feel the way that I do about natural hair and its importance among the diaspora. I'm just someone who's chosen to do something about it. I've dedicated my life to this, and like I said, I just want to do something about it.
So, Isis, let me ask, how did you encounter this young champion for natural hair? How did you meet him?
Actually, I think it was all destiny. I didn't go looking for Rhadames. Neither do I think he came looking for Naturally Isis. I was asked to be on the panel for this weekend's Know Your Roots and the fundraiser for his film, Follicle. And just kind of got connected that way. I think it's, a lot of things that happens in our lives is a part of our destiny, and I think that we were destined to meet, because I've never met anyone so passionate about follicles and natural hair and the healing and the identity of it all, and having the voice that, that speaks loud. That really is important to me. I met you through my daughter who's a filmmaker also. So I told her about the ladies in Dallas that were putting on this event, and they called themselves Natural Hair Movement. And I was like, what did you think about that? She was like, you know what? I know him, yay, and he would love you. I'm about to email him right now. And
okay. Her daughter at a film. Her daughter is a filmmaker as well.
Okay.
And HBO did something in Harlem for black filmmakers and something, and I met her daughter there, and I just got her card, and then 3 or 4 months later, I think your daughter referred me, and we connected. But it was one of those things where, in the natural hair movement, and when you talk about people of color in diaspora, you get a lot of this. You get a lot of talking. You get a lot of people who they congregate and they talk about, we need this and we got to do this and the community needs this. But what I like to see is the real synergy, the real action. And that's what I'm trying to create with the film and the movement at hand.
Yeah. I don't want you to say trying to create. You are creating. So I want you to speak it, that you are creating it. So you have mentioned about the film. Can you share a little bit about the background of the film, how it came into being, how Follicle came into being with our audience? Because, I have a worldwide audience. A lot of people don't know about it, but here is an opportunity for us to learn more about your creation of this film, Follicle.
Okay, so this is how it began. I'll try to give you the full story in a very short moment. So I used to be a professional male model here in Dallas. I started with a agency called Kim Dawson. They're probably the biggest agency in the South. When I was a model for Kim Dawson, at the age of 19, one of my agents pulled me to the side and he said, "You're going to be very successful because you are what the industry calls a non-aggressive model." Of course, I said, "What does that mean?" He said, basically, it means you're not too black and you're very easy to sell. So from the age of 18, this idea of me not being too black was put in my head. Then at the age of, I think, 20 or 21, a girl from Texas, from Fort Worth, invited me to her debutante ball. And when she invited me to that, the people there told me, "We want you to be a part of this, but you can't go with that shit on your head. That shit is ugly, it's nasty, it's kinky, you need to fix that." They said, "We're going to give you 2 options. You can either cut your hair or you can straighten your hair." So I straightened my hair, and it was a very, very, very demeaning process. When I left the salon, the woman gave me a slew of rules. Don't wet your hair, don't you dare sweat, wear this pink satin thing. I fell asleep, and I remember not being able to concentrate. The next day when I went to the event, I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like a modern-day version of Frederick Douglass. It was that awkward. So anyways, I went to this event, and the moment I walked into this event, I realized that the people who were hosting this event needed me to look more like them in order for them to feel comfortable about themselves. Fast forward 3 years later, I go to Africa for the first time, South Africa. My agency sends me there because they said your look will do well there. The moment I land in South Africa and I drop my bags at the apartment, a woman comes around, and she was the maid, and she says, oh, what is wrong with that shit? You must cut that shit. That was another hard moment for me where I realized, my God, everything that I thought was exclusive to, you know, the South is really global. So fast forward to last year, a year ago from last year, I had been living in South Africa for about 4 months, and the woman that I was living with told me that she had been getting complaints from her neighbors that I had been bringing in prostitutes and Nigerian gangsters to her apartment during the day while I wasn't there, while she wasn't home. So my response was, you know, ha ha ha, not funny, what are you talking about? And she said, no, I don't care about what you do, but these people aren't allowed in my home. So when I confronted her about it, I said, I just want to be clear. First of all of these people are my friends. Second of all of these people happen to be people of color, so it's looking a little awkward. Third of all, I ain't changing shit. These are friends, these are people I know, and you can't tell me that people that look like me can't come into my home. So, long story short, that escalated. She threatened me with her family. She threw all my stuff outside. She put her hands on me. She called the cops and told the cops that I wasn't supposed to be there and I had physically assaulted her. This is the point. On my flight back from Africa to New York City, I had a revelation, that moment where you have a choice. You can either do something or you can decide to be complacent. And what I decided to do was to create a very unique film that gets people to understand that we are all interconnected through our follicle. So despite the color of your skin, despite the darkness of your skin, we are all interconnected, and that's the one thing that we all have in common around the world that has been taken away from us, and that is our true identity. I believe that if you're a person of color and you have never returned to your natural hair state, there is a huge disconnect between who you think you are and what you really are. And it's more difficult when you transition. Now, getting a little deeper into that, the natural hair movement that exists right now, it's a little scary for me. I live in New York City, I live in Harlem, but I spend a lot of time in Brooklyn where this movement is really flourishing. What I'm seeing is a lot of commercialism, a lot of people just going after the aesthetic, a lot of people going after the notoriety of it all. And what it reminds me of is the civil rights movement of the 60s and the 70s, where companies came in and exploited the whole movement. You know, that on top of the Black Panthers coming along and being persecuted and whatnot, the whole civil rights movement faded. Not to mention, there were just as many people of color who didn't want to return to their natural hair state because they didn't want to be attached to all of the seriousness and all of the pro-Africanness that was attached to it. But now what we have on our hands is, I think, a second chance. And that is, now that there is a natural hair movement, we absolutely have to take this and fucking own it. Excuse my French. Or y'all speak French in Canada. Excuse my bad word. We have to own this movement. We absolutely have to realize, globally speaking, that we have an opportunity to unite. It's right now. We cannot let these large corporations come in and take over and sell us the idea of natural hair. We have to absolutely come in and own this. So I'm creating a film. It's a documentary hybrid. And the point of the film is to get you to think about these issues, to talk about these issues, and ultimately take action in return. But the film is not going to feel like your run-of-the-mill documentary. I'm almost done. I think the problem with a lot of the documentaries and a lot of the films that exist today is that, you know, they tell the same story, but they're sort of mundane. And it ends up being people complaining about their blackness and the way they look and the history, but there's no real call to action. And I think a lot of the reason that is simply because of the way the story is told. I'll give you an example. In the past 20 years, we've had like 30 Batman movies come out, right? We've had Superman movies and Spider-Man movies, and the reason that these films do relatively well is because the narrative changes. Each one of those films is just a little different. And so with my film, what I'm trying to do is take this very serious topic and get people to walk out of the theater realizing, holy hell, this is a lot deeper than I imagined. I should probably look at what I do and reanalyze it and see where all this comes from. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Isis, What sort of feeling do you get, because you've been involved in the natural hair movement for many years, when you see someone like the gentleman beside you, the next generation, and his passion? What sort of feelings arise in you when you see the passion of the next generation of this movement?
Oh, that feeling I feel is so directly connected to the days of the old, like the ancient ways of our ancestors. I see a resurrection of, uh, mental resurrection, of a shift in the paradigm. People are really wanting answers. I see happy faces. I see children who are being kicked out of school because of their locks, being happy, turning that experience into something wonderful, something that is going to catapult them to the next voice for freedom, for African curl pattern and follicle. And I see economic liberty rising also, because a lot of these children I see are gifted with the art of twisting and locking and braiding hair. And with my lawsuit that I'm going through now with the state of Texas, it speaks to economic liberty. I see just that free enterprise again for African Americans and African people in this diaspora. I think that we should create group economics so that we can take our trillions of dollars that we spend every year with other nationalities back and circulate that into our own demographics and our own community. I see joy. I see what the world sees. I see beautiful braids and locks. I see the white girls opening up the pop-up bars. I see the black women trying to start the whole expo and all of the international natural hair events. I see God's face of joy when we talk about our history, when we talk about our identity, when we talk about our melanation, our being people of color. I think that 3/4 of the world have this issue that Rhadamés experienced. And I think it is no surprise to anyone. I just think that we should look at it very positively, taking it and making a movie out of it, taking it and putting it on stage, taking it and touring with it, taking it and doing what the Naturally Isis Natural Hair Parade and Festival is doing. Celebrate it. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks around us. It doesn't matter even what we have been taught to think. What matters is we have to be the change that we want to see. That's what matters.
That's a good segue. I was just thinking, there's nothing that I can do that's more powerful than if you're watching this live and you live in suburban Canada or anywhere in the States or wherever you are in the world, there's nothing that either of us can do that's more powerful than you returning to your natural hair state and knowing why. It's not an easy journey, trust me. I'm familiar with that journey. But there's nothing more powerful than that. So ultimately what we want to do is empower people to know the power behind that. And you know, it does get a little esoteric, it does get a little Disney sometimes, but the truth is, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, the esoteric side of it, the beauty and the knowing yourself, but what I don't talk a lot about in the film is the fact the money you save, the time you save, you know, all of these things that, the economic freedom that you can have from it, but ultimately there's nothing more powerful than you doing that. And right now there's a movement, and so I hope.
Is there a movement, or is it just?
Well, I was going to say, with there's a movement, but I hope that as the years progress, people will be able to realize that it's deeper than just the surface movement that's at hand. You know, right now, like I said, for me, it feels more like a trend. These are the questions that people don't want to talk about, and we're going to talk about on Saturday. You know, is there anyone who has more power than the First Lady? What would happen if Michelle Obama returned to her natural hair state? Or, because I've gotten this argument dozens of times, what if they say she is natural? What if she and her daughters wore their hair in its texture, in its texturized form?
Yes.
What would happen? What does that mean? You know, it's kind of hard to fathom. And, you know, a lot of times I get the whole, you know, first of all, you're a guy, you don't get it. Second of all, it's her hair, she can do whatever she wants. But ultimately, I'm trying to speak on behalf of, you know, our ancestors 400 years prior. You know, there's something to be said about a man who would make a deal with the KKK because he strongly believed that all black people belonged in Africa. I'm referring to Marcus Garvey.
Absolutely.
Whether or not you agree with what he did, you have to admire him for the passion that he had for his people. I believe that there are people out there who have as much passion as Miss Isis and I have. I really do. And I think that unknowingly, when you return to your natural hair state, when you make that statement to the world, you are bringing those people out of the closet. You know, I'm not ashamed to say, why don't we as people of color, black people, people of African descent in particular, why don't we work like the Koreans? Why don't we work like the Jews?
Yes.
There's nothing stopping us. This idea of being separated is something that was embedded in our psyche. But now we are strong enough, and I think that we have the knowledge to do something about it. And I feel a sense of responsibility to do something about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
For both of you, conversation piece, how much do you feel the natural hair movement reflects the challenges of Black America is facing at this time?
Oh my. It's yes. When I think about, thank you, Russell. When I think about the challenges on the hierarchy, say those that are in corporate America, I know the lady Brantley that was fired, meteorologist that was just fired last year because she decided to go natural. I look at the whole movement, and I'm on tour with this freedom, the freedom of natural hair in this country. When I look at what everybody is experiencing, and people all over are like embracing that, even people that are non-African, they are embracing the idea of, why can't I wear my locks? You know, what's wrong with it? They're feeling a little bit of empathy and sympathy for what others are experiencing. But what I want the world to understand is black hair in America was enslaved. It was removed from American social systems, meaning that all the corporations and all the people that were competing in this country for black women's hair to be straight, or for black children to buy just for me, that was a political, economic approach to degrade and dehumanize the African pearl, the follicle. So I'm saying that when we look at the enslavement or just the aggressiveness towards African identity or black identity in this country, it was orchestrated and designed. It's not anything that we woke up thinking, oh, I look in the mirror and I hate myself. No, it was passed down from generation to generation.
So, can you repeat that question one more time, please?
No, I just wanted to know, because in the previous conversations that we've had tonight, you've mentioned about challenges of the movement, etc. How much do you feel the challenges, or the challenges of the natural hair movement reflect also challenges of Black America at this time? Because you talk about economic, etc., empowerment, etc.
Yeah, but I have to digress from that and say I don't view it as an American thing. I view it as a global thing.
Okay,
for me,
sure.
Think of it that way because we're all dealing with the same. See, the best thing you could do is travel, because when you travel, you get a real feel for what the real world is like, right? You get a feeling. The first thing that you realize is that it's not what it says in television. But once you travel around the world, and especially in regards to this hair issue, you see that we're all dealing with the same issue. I think that with the natural hair movement, I think that the interesting thing is that when people return to their natural hair state, they find themselves in a place that they weren't expecting to be at, which is oftentimes, their eyes are more open. They have to deal with work, oftentimes family, relationships.
Yes.
All of that is difficult. I mean, look what's going on in the military now. I mean, I think that's a prime example. But I think as difficult as it may seem or it may sound, it's necessary.
It's a movement. It's almost like a Marcus Garvey movement. It's necessary, but it's very difficult to do.
Yeah, it is difficult.
It's very difficult. You have to own it in your heart.
You do. I hope that as a man, one of the few things that I can do is let women know you can't be more beautiful than the way you are with your natural hair.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that again. You cannot be more beautiful than you can be with your natural hair. That is it. That is a pinnacle of beauty.
It's true.
Everything else that I believe that you do with your hair takes away from that. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a natural hair Nazi, and I am not the natural hair police. I do not believe that you need to wear your hair natural all your life and dreadlocks and all that. But what I'm saying is that if you haven't gone through that journey, that there is a hidden disconnect. Yeah. And so, with the natural hair movement at hand, I don't know. I'm worried. I am worried because I see a lot of people coming in and capitalizing in on it.
It's always been.
And there's a void.
Yeah, it's always been that way, though. Even during Marcus Garvey time, Madam C.J. Walker time, it was all about capitalism. You know, everyone is capitalizing off of what they can sell to melanated people, people of color. And the other thing that I want to say is we have to really be easy with our people that are already trapped in that understanding of dark and lovely and just for me and Miss Clairol and all those different things that they choose to make themselves feel beautiful. We had a lady here the other day that she said she hates her hair. She just don't have time and don't want to deal with her own hair, so she relaxes her hair. So a lot of that is going to be embedded in us, and it's like the Willie Lynch chip that still exists in us. That's not going to go away overnight. So I don't want to scare people away from the Natural Hair Parade and Festival. If you're still relaxing your hair, please still come. It's just that we have to create this movement for ourselves. Who are we waiting on? There will not be another MLK. There will not be another Malcolm X. It's Rhadamés and Isis now. We have to create our own movement so that we can invoke change in the world, just as you said.
You know, I want to say one last thing. A dear friend of mine told me recently, a couple months ago, she said that she was giving a presentation somewhere, and a woman asked her a question, and she said, how do we deal with men who don't like us in our natural hair? And she said something to me that was very, very, I think, brilliant. She said, what you need to realize is that men have gone through the same brainwashing and the same conditioning that women have gone through. They may not have been the ones to change their appearance as much or relax their hair as much, but if your guy or if your partner or whatever is going through that hard time transitioning, they're going through the same thing as well. I do believe that we can put pressure on the people who have the ability to ignite real change and ask questions like, why is Hollywood, you know, not returning to their natural hair state? It almost feels like.
But who would you ask though? Who are the people that you would ask that?
Oh, Beyonce. I would ask Beyonce. I would ask Oprah Winfrey. What does it mean that you have a texture? The last issue that she did was she wore the big wig and stuff. I would ask her. I would say, why did you glamorize the wig?
Yes.
Why did you talk about how much it cost and how much it weighed? Why did you have your stylist admit that you still have a little texturizer in your hair, which I actually had to look up and meant texturizer is a very cute way of saying a little bit of perm or relaxer, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well,
wow.
I would ask her, and then I would ask her, why would you make an article that's about black hair and have your editorial piece be revolved around a circus in the back, and then all of the advertisements, of the 4 advertisements I've counted for people of color, this is fact, this is what I counted. 3 of them were hair, I think, oh sorry, of the 4 hair product advertisements in her magazine, 3 of them were for relaxers, only 1 of them was for natural hair. So the argument that I've heard is, well, her market isn't yours, but what is that saying? If you go and you pick up the current People Latino magazine, remember, yo soy dominicano, so, you know, yo represento lo que es el Latino y lo que es el Moreno. I represent what is a Latino man and a man of color, right, a black man. So, you know, one of my dear friends has a website called Miss Rizos, and she pointed out to me, if you go and you look at People Magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People of their Latino issue, you open up the front fold, it's a 3-fold out, and there are nothing but white people on there. So, and then I said, listen, I told her, I'm sure you're exaggerating. I went and I bought the magazine and I counted. Out of 50 people, there were only 4 people of color. 3 of them were men. 1 of them was a woman with straight hair. If any of you watching know anything about Latin America is not just a white, ethnicity of people. We are dark, we are yellow, we are brown, we are purple, we are blue, we are all these things. So all I'm saying with that is that, you know, I would point to them and say, yo, what the hell, you know, well, why are you doing this, and why, you know, why don't you understand that this is only doing worse for people? And really, let's talk. We're talking about little girls here. In essence, we're talking about little girls and their self-esteem. That's what we're really targeting here.
And they only make these products just for our little girls. There are no other ethnicities that I know of, no Asians, no Anglo-Saxons that use these chemicals on their babies, but people of color. Always. When you have babies that are blended babies that come to the shop all the time, and when they are seen in those traditional salons, the first thing they say is that you should relax it. It's easier to deal with. So I think it's just, you know, an identity thing, and it's always going to be. Racism is a business, you know, and I think that we just need to not worry so much about what it looks like and create what we want it to be.
Right on, yeah.
That is a good closing thought for us this evening. So Rhadamés and Isis, I know you're going to rock the house on Saturday.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep.
If you're watching this program and you believe in what we're saying, we live in a capitalistic society. We need your help, right? Yeah. You can go on the link that I'm sure Dr. Vibe will post. You only have a day. Obviously, if you can't come to Dallas, you can still support by buying a ticket, or there's a donation button. Yes. Or you can go to my direct website, which is www.folliclefilm.com, and you can help me make this movement a real movement.
And also, I want to invite you all out on Saturday. Even if you don't have a ticket, we want numbers to show up. So we're looking for the first 25 people to give us a call at 214-329-3820 to come and see Rhadamés and the Follicle and the whole energy that's going to be unforgettable.
Synergy, right on.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time. Rhadamés, you're more than welcome if you want to come back on the show and at length talk about the film. So the mic is and the camera's always open, just like it always is for Isis also. And the links that they mentioned is already part of the post. If you're watching this live or you're watching this after the live event, the links are all there. But yes, go check out this event. It is an important event. It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the Dr. Vibe Show, also host and producer of the weekly Black Men's Roundtable on Sunday nights called Do You Know What Time It Is, where black men give commentary and opinions on current news stories and current news events. Also, you can catch me once a month at the Good Men Project hosting live Google Hangouts and also co-producing with Marie Roker-Jones. And the Dr. Vibe Show is the only regular online show to be featured at the Good Men Project. As always, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith.
Thank you, Dr. Vibe.